Hi everyone, I'm Duncan Brown from Distributed ID. Distributed ID is providing the foundation for connecting digital identity records across enterprises and between industries. This is the problem we're solving. Currently, enterprises are spending way too much money on a solution that isn't working effectively. They're spending between $60 and $500 million, so about $240 million on average, to properly know their customer. And 75% of them are still experiencing massive amounts of fraud. That's application fraud, identity fraud, and payment fraud. And this is because the data is siloed and static. The identity records don't accurately identify their user. This is the current state of digital identity. The siloed data that doesn't accurately identify the user is based on static attributes which only identified you at that point in time. Consider your driver's license is taken a picture that is with you for 10 years. And it's fragmented across all of the different services that you might be on board to. With distributed ID, we combine every participant in our network's siloed information to get a better view of who you are. We grow with you in a dynamic sense, changing and adapting to your behavior to provide a way better profile into who you are. And we unify this across all sources and accounts you have onboarded. Distributed ID unlocks your customers' data to enable identity records to collaboration across industries. We reduce fraud by enabling you to understand your user to the best to completely understand your user. We meet compliance by enabling an auditable trail of all interactions with your data, and we create a marketplace where data providers are able to access revenue to data consumers. We currently have a pilot in China with 20 million users. This is the data provider and data consumer model. We have our pilot partner has a whole bunch of information that their clients need to access, and they want to access, but they can't because of privacy regulations. So through distributed ID, we allow them to monetize this data. The pilot has the potential to grow to 650 million of these users. And during Techstars, we are exploring market fit in North America. Currently, we are speaking with Equifax and IBM, and we have a pilot proposal in preparation for them. Our revenue model is three-prong approach. We have API usage, which is how many times the API is called, and we offer a managed network service or on-premise solution, as well as the data revenue share in the marketplace. And that is the most unique piece of the solution. Currently, we've raised $500,000 US. We have approximately a valuation of approximately $4 million, $200,000 for the pilot in revenue, and have hired a core team of engineers as well as a director of partnerships. We are seeking out $3 million in funding to reach these goals of 200,000 MRR, a 500,000 GMV, and we think we can accomplish these goals with this raise. Our team is a set of superstars. Myself and my co-founder have a wealth of knowledge in blockchain, and Tara is our director of partnerships. She has really, okay. Scott and the engineering team are all well-established programmers. We chose them because they're superstars in their own right, and we could teach them blockchain. And these advisors have all been co-founders themselves and are all established people in the industry, providing us their strategic knowledge and good advice to help us grow our company. Thank you very much. I'm Duncan Brown. Questions?
So can you just give me like a very specific example of who your customer is, how they utilize your service, and how it helps them service their customer?
Yep. So the user story in China is financial adoption or financial service adoption is about 10% of the population. So about 1.4 billion people don't have access to any financial services, but they are all, and mobile adoption is exceeding expectations. About $33 trillion goes through mobile wallets a year. So the information is out there, but the banks can't collect it. And that's what I mean by the data provider, data service, or consumer model, where our partner collects all of the information, validates the information, and makes sure the customer is who they say they are, and gives a risk score back to the mobile provider. But the banks are completely separate from that whole operation. We can bridge that. We bridge that. So our client is the data provider and the data consumer. And we offer them the ability to share and collaborate and build a better understanding of the user across way more touch points than ever before. Consider a keyhole view of someone versus the whole picture.
Just curious in terms of, between Google and Facebook having so much information on particular users, like relative to what you collect and what could be provided from platforms like that if your clients were to partner with them instead. I'm just curious because that came up as you were presenting.
Sorry, can you hear? Yeah.
So you know how you have Google and Facebook have so much information on users and everybody's single sign-oning through platforms like that. Could they not provide that complete picture that you're talking about on the consumers in China, for example?
Yeah, so Google and Facebook have social analytics, but they lack payment and transactional data. So the partners in China specifically collect payment data, which assesses risk score. And yes, they do have their marketplace and they have platforms, but they have their own incentivized, they have their own incentives to keep that data to themselves.
Got it, okay.
So Amazon and Google don't share, whereas our platform would allow them to share without giving either competitor the advantage.
So just a quick question on the data acquisition model. So over time, as you get more and more providers onto the platform, in theory, your verification,
Replaces.
Score and or replaces over time. So what is the long-term incentive for providers and data repositories to give this data to you?
So data providers have the long-term incentive of gathering a more accurate. So with Tongdun, they have the incentive of getting a more accurate credit score or probability score across our network. So every client we onboard, they are also able to access. The people that we would be disrupting are the credit data middlemen that don't actually provide any data to the network. But data providers can now leverage other data providers' networks and become data consumers in themselves. So the incentive is, if you have data or you need data, if you have anything to bring to the table or you need something, join the network.
I think we're all kind of sniffing around the same idea here, which is, what are you bringing that is like, a lot of people are in this space. There are a lot of players. What are you doing that's unique? And I like this conversion of payment data and identity data. There seems to be something there, but either build on that or aside from that, like, what are you doing that's special?
So privacy regulations state that you aren't able to share any information that identifies a client. And that limits fraud detection models because they aren't able to accurately view other sources of information on their client across different platforms. So that means, Amazon can't see what I'm purchasing on any other market but Amazon. So they have a very fragmented view. Our platform anonymizes those users, completely, maintaining their privacy, and that's what we mean by maintaining compliance, and allows the data consumer to unlock all of the other providers' views of that person. So in a fragmented market, like an emerging market, where you have multiple parties interacting with the same set of data, this provides them the common ground to stand on, a common platform to agree upon a user's profile and share and help grow.
So just pushing on the kind of concept of incentivization. So assuming that exists, have you done any analysis with respect to the cost to acquire such data? Because those providers historically are have built their businesses around monetizing that data.
Yep.
And so have you done any sort of projection or financial analysis to think about what the acquisition cost is?
Yeah, so the acquisition cost will change. So to onboard a user, the KYC costs about between $2 to $14 per user. By lowering the cost to onboard users, we incentivize them to give us their data. And then in turn, we will be able to effectively offer a completely reduced cost, if not free, because once they've onboarded into our network, it's like the double spend problem, right? Like Bitcoin and blockchain solve double spend problem. Our network solves the double KYC problem. Where if you have already onboarded into the network, you don't have to do that again, saving everyone costs and time and providing the incentive that use our service because you will never have to replicate and do the same process on the same person again.
Okay, so as for our second team from Techstars, I'd like to introduce Dan DeMers. Dan is the co-founder and CEO of Cinchy.
Is it possible to open PowerPoint? Because I'm worried this is not the right file. So it should be in PowerPoint format. I can just tell the fonts are off. Okay. All right. Let's see how it is. Okay. All right. Enterprise software. When you hear that, what words come to mind? Slow, archaic, expensive. Hi everyone, I'm Dan. I spent 10 years building enterprise systems in a number of large global banks. I manage technology budgets of more than $100 million. And guess what? I'd say more than half of that ended up right here, right down the toilet. And I'd like to tell you what we wasted it on. Large banks have thousands of systems, and they're always replacing and adding new ones. And every time there's a new system, there's a new database. Databases are not designed for use by multiple applications. This is the root cause of data silos. The problem is, this is completely misaligned from how data actually works. Most systems need to know something about a customer or an employee. To understand the massive impact of this disconnect, let's look at a scenario. Here we have 4 applications, each with a separate database. For these systems to function, they're going to need to access data from each other. To do this, we're going to build APIs, ETLs, and other very complicated technical solutions. We're also going to need to duplicate some of the data. Storage is cheap, so what is the problem? Well, building any one of these red lines can easily cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's not just the cost of software. Teams will spend weeks negotiating contracts with each other for every single line. And no, your data lake isn't going to help. It complements but doesn't replace the need for applications to have an application-specific database. IT organizations across the globe spend trillions working around this problem every single year. But what if they didn't have to? What if it worked like this? Let's manage the data based on how it actually works as an interconnected network. Applications could reuse data securely across application boundaries. And when we add a new system, we can completely avoid data integration and simply extend the data network with the new data as required, contributing back for the benefit of others. Here, in this model, applications work together as a team. And this is how Cinchy works. Cinchy is a smart alternative to application databases. Unlike a database, oh, a bit of delay, sorry. Unlike a database, Cinchy includes a business-friendly user interface. It lets you build APIs in just minutes, and there's so much more. We love giving our customers a competitive edge, an unfair advantage. Good luck keeping up with them. We just started executing our go-to-market strategy. Our focus with our beachhead market is on financial services. The first bank we spoke with is now in production. The second is about to start a proof of concept. And the third got on a plane specifically to come talk to us. And we're just getting started. One of our more sought-after use cases is to help enable AI and advanced analytics at scale. It's one thing to do a couple of pilots and proof of concepts. It's another to actually fully operationalize. Cinchy is helping banks to standardize their data and actually realize the ROI from their massive investments in big data technology. If you're looking for a competitive edge, we'd love to chat. I'm Dan, and we are Cinchy. Thank you.
Great presentation. How do you envision the revenue model going forward? Will it be subscription-based, per use? If you could talk us through a little bit more about that.
So we've designed it to run anywhere, both on-prem and in a hosted environment. Most of the banks that we're talking to have a preference for an on-prem deployment. So we would be using a licensing model, which is what we're already doing for existing customers. So they would essentially purchase licenses as well as the annual maintenance. That being said, we have designed it to run anywhere, so we do expect that to evolve over time as banks become more and more willing to release their sensitive data outside of their private networks. Although do keep in mind that even with their private networks, they can have physical machines, virtual machines, and a lot of them are cloudifying their own data centers as it is. So if it's on-prem, they're still putting it in the cloud.
Just curious, what would you say is the next best alternative today, other than obviously what you're doing for your clients?
So the next best alternative is doing what others are spending billions on, which is establishing central copies of data from all these application databases. So you call it a data mart, call it a data warehouse, call it a data lake, call it whatever you want. It's all different technologies, but those strategies, what they do is they create a central copy of data that needs to be kept in sync with the actual application-specific databases where the data comes from. What that does is that it gives you the ability to do analytics and AI off of a consolidated data set, but it's not addressing the inherent inefficiency in building systems. So what they'll do is give you actionable insights, but how do you actually act on it? You need to execute. And execution is really where the bottleneck is.
Two questions. Good presentation, first off. So I know you're starting in financial services, low-hanging fruit. That's probably a big enough market as it is. But can you tell us what some of the next potential markets that you're looking at are?
Yep.
And then I'd like a little more information on the team.
Sure. So definitely financial services are our focus, and obviously not just in Canada, but globally as well. And it's not just the tier ones, that's our initial focus, but you can get down to the smaller banks are going to have similar challenges as well. A lot of the capabilities that we've built into the platform is even beyond what we've covered in the presentation around data security and data controls. So I'll answer your other question as well. My co-founder and I worked in financial services for combined 20 years in a number of global banks, not just banks in Canada. And so we're very familiar with some of the control requirements around segregation of duties, restricting access to sensitive data, PII, et cetera. So the product is specifically baked in capabilities to really take that to the next level and essentially guarantee compliance with that. It's next generation data controls. So now coming back to the other question, any sector that has sensitivity over data, for example, healthcare, would be very well suited as a future expansion opportunity. That being said, the benefits of a network of data are universally true of every sector in the world.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. So, our final company, and as you can tell at Techstars, we really go after highly technical teams that are solving very big problems. So the final CEO, Saroop Bharwani, is coming up right now. And Saroop is the CEO of Senso, and he'll have 5 minutes, followed by some Q&A.
Hey everyone, thank you very much. Sunil, thanks for the introduction. I am Saroop Bharwani, co-founder and CEO of Senso. Appreciate everyone being here and appreciate the opportunity. So Senso increases retention for mortgage lenders. And we do this by using machine learning to analyze a mortgage portfolio and detect signs of early customer churn. We price deals on a personalized level, and we contextually engage customers to maximize retention. Let's talk about the mortgage churn problem. Currently, financial institutions and our competitors use very linear approaches, which are highly outdated. We've performed an analysis and projections across 4 main markets we're looking at: Canada, Australia, the UK, and the US. We project that in 2018, banks will forfeit $17.4 billion in revenue due to mortgage churn and suboptimal pricing of mortgages. That's $68 billion in operational and finance costs to actually replace that loss, and $2 trillion in new mortgage originations. So we see this as a massive problem. Our solution does 2 things. It aggregates key data sets into a data repository, which we've prepared and cleaned for predictive tasks. This includes housing data, credit data, news and social data, demographic data, our customers' data, and we feed them through a self-adaptive machine learning platform. We use linear models all the way to deep learning and genetic models, and we compete them against each other, and the best output wins. And this is completely self-adaptive, and it learns more over time. We're currently piloting this with a number of customers. One of the big 5 banks in Canada with over $250 billion in mortgage volume, and an alternative lender in Canada. Our pipeline contains access to over $800 billion in mortgage volume. And it's interesting to see the differences between a big bank and an alternative lender. We also have access to a number of data sets through public means and partnerships. And this allows us to create the predictive tasks in comparison to some of the linear tasks that produce other results today. We're going through some exciting accelerators: Techstars, CDL, and Next.AI. So just to talk about the revenue opportunity a little bit more, current customer base gives us access to $200 billion in mortgage volume. We project that over the next 3 years, we can earn additional revenue of over $50 million for our clients. That's additional net interest income through better pricing and retaining customers. And we project that's over $10 million in revenue for us over the next 3 years. Looking at our complete pipeline and access to the Canadian market, that's $1.1 trillion in revenue, almost $200 million in potential revenue for our clients, and almost $40 million for us. And that's at our fingertips. We're already talking to all of these individuals. We project that this is a $500 million annual revenue generating opportunity, just focusing on the mortgage holders. And as we expand to predicting churn for other financial products, expanding into insurance, investing, and selling to brokerages, we see it as a $2.5 billion annual revenue generating opportunity. We project that by mid-next year, we'll be at 1.5 million ARR. That's including early adopter discounts, which we're providing to our existing customers. And the spike you see after that will be based on our US expansion. Our team is our family. These are people we've been working with for years. I come from an enterprise consulting background at financial institutions using data and user experience to retain customers. My CTO, Nick, he's a born hacker, but he also has a background in mortgage retention. Our engineering and design team are world-class and people we've worked with for years, and our advisors are leaders in mortgage retention, analytics, fintech, banking, and entrepreneurship. Super excited to get everyone's feedback. We are opening up our seed round after Techstars in May. It's going to be a $1.5 million seed round to see through our current pilots, expand in Canada and to the US. And we're super excited to talk to everyone. We are Senso, and we turn loan to value into lifetime value. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good presentation. How much of your current business model and product strategy is dependent on the current interest rate environment? And with this new change in interest rates, how do you see that affecting the business?
So what's happening is interest rates go up, originations slow down, and banks actually put more focus on retaining customers in their mortgage portfolio. And that's a natural sort of thing we're seeing with our current clients as well as our pipeline. We get this from our advisors all the time. Don't think about a lowering interest rate environment as the only opportunity. This is the time where more focus is going to go on the mortgage portfolio.
Yeah, I guess my question is exactly what you're saying. As they're retaining these mortgages, where's the value there? There's no transaction fees. How are you making money?
Right, so the way we make money is two ways: by increasing that retention rate based on the baseline that our competitors and the banks are currently able to produce today. There's more opportunity to increase retention at the smaller alternative lenders. And then the second thing is optimal pricing to increase net interest margin. And even like a 2 to 5 basis point increase is like literally tens of millions of dollars. And that uplift on both sides is what the projections you saw are based on. And that's something we've modeled out with our clients, our 2 clients today, and that's been validated. Now we're rolling into pilots to sort of replicate that. And we've already created that sort of uplift in a lab. Our thesis is we can replicate that, if not beyond that, in our pilots and beyond.
Are all the data sources going into your model public? And for your pilot, what's been the accuracy of the models in predicting churn?
So they're not all public. We have aggregated a lot of public data sets. Techstars and Sunil have been integral to getting us access to more public data sets. We do have a partnership with a credit bureau and are working on a partnership with an appraisal company, and those give us access to the housing data and the credit data. Right now, it's sort of a proof of concepts. We're integrating those data sets in the model. We have data, and now it's just coming up with that base model. The accuracy we're seeing is, again, this is in simulated environments, which we're replicating in our pilots right now, is a 5 basis point uplift from the baseline.
So in your presentation, you focus pretty heavily on the Canadian market, which completely understandable. We're here, and it makes a lot of sense. What are your intentions with respect to growth outside of Canada, and where would you focus first?
The U.S. market is the biggest market when it comes to mortgages, and that's where we're looking. I think being involved in the Techstars network is already giving us access to individuals to allow us to explore this. Due to the competitive nature of the mortgage market, churn is higher, especially for those servicing companies and big banks with massive portfolios. And that's not the only opportunity. Second-tier banks are definitely something we're tapping into right now and creating conversations with, because they're much more friendly to and more aggressive to actually work with startups and implement these types of solutions. So there's a number of opportunities, and based on my projections, we are going to be aggressively looking at the U.S. market and expanding there in early 2019, starting creating conversations right now through Sunil and the Techstars network.
Okay, thank you very much, Saroop. So the judges now just need 3 or 4 minutes to deliberate and choose a winner. You're all winners to Techstars, but we are going to pick one of these companies to get pushed forward into what comes next. Just for the audience, Techstars has 10 startups currently in program. This is an early look. First time any of our companies have actually presented anywhere yet. And we have 6.5 weeks remaining in the program. If you want to meet the companies one-on-one and any of the other 7, we're having a social event tomorrow evening at WeWork. That's the one at 240 Richmond Street at 6 p.m. So you're welcome to come over on the lobby of WeWork. We'll have refreshments, and all companies are there. We have a wide variety of tech companies covering AI and marketplaces, hardware, as you saw, blockchain and Fintech, and amazing companies, virtual reality. All the founders and broader teams will be on hand at WeWork tomorrow at 6. So did I stall long enough for a winning company, or do we need a little bit more time? No, I'm sorry. Do we have a decision, or do we? Yeah. Okay. So, do I announce this, or don't hold it personal if I didn't pick your name, my friend? So the winner of the Dragon's Den golden ticket is Dan from Cinchy.